Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast. Today we have a special one. Today's podcast is the Great Goldfish Designer Search. Wizards of the Coast has been intently listening to our entire podcast from episode 1, and they have declared us to be the most knowledgeable podcast about Magic the Gathering. And they have asked us to design cards. I may have made up that entire intro.
Tooting our own horn.
But today we are going to take our hand at designing cards, and we're going to have you, the listeners and viewers, vote on our cards. But before we get into the rules and how this will work, let's introduce everyone. So I am the Codfather Richard, and with me I have Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to see you, Richard.
We have the Asian Avenger Krim. What's up, Krim?
Yo, what's up? I'm happy you're just running with the Codfather. I love that.
That's a classic.
And we have Tomer with healthy, luscious plants in the background. How are you doing, Tomer?
Was there ever a doubt? They're not fake, by the way. That's all I'm going to say.
All they needed was you to leave for a few months to thrive. That's all it took.
So my parents can water them.
Okay, so
Tomer's
the way it will
parents
work
walk his plants.
is we have each designed 2 cards to pitch to Hasbro and you, esteemed viewers. So we will go over each card, we will discuss them as a group, and then you, the viewers, can vote on 4 categories. And the categories will be best flavor, best gameplay, will make Hasbro the most money, and then best overall.
That's the most important
and
one.
To vote, the voting links will be in the show notes. And the show notes will be linked in the YouTube channel, in the YouTube comments, or in the podcast description if you're on Spotify or iTunes. And then you can vote there. And then we can see who gets the most fake internet points. And so it'll be very interesting. And if you haven't done so already, now would be a good time to tell you guys to make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, on Spotify, on iTunes, on every platform imaginable. It helps us out. And so do that to make sure you're updated when we release a new episode. So with that out of the way, let us get into the Great Designer Search. So first up, I have a card. And we're like 5 minutes into the podcast and we haven't talked about Marvel Snap. So here's my chance, guys.
Jesus.
So I've been playing a lot of Marvel Snap, as you know.
Hey, me too.
As a consequence of that, I've joined Krim in reading comic books. So I've been actually reading a ton of comics because I'm just so into Marvel now because of Marvel Snap.
It's like
and one of the first comics that was recommended to me that's very epic that no one should miss if you're a fan of the X-Men is House of M.
Whoa!
And House of M. M stands for Magnus, who is Magneto. And it's set in an alternate universe, a universe beyond, you may say, where everyone has their desires fulfilled. And in this case, so Magneto's dream is for mutants to be the race in charge, and to everyone, everyone would respect mutants, and humans are kind of the lower end of the scale, and they're facing all the prejudice. So he is kind of king of this world. And the Scarlet Witch, Wanda, she's a plain Jane regular human with 2 kids. So her dream was simply to be a regular human. Now, lots of stuff happens, but there's people that remember the old world and they're like, whoa, this is messed up. We gotta fix it. So they come and try to fix it. A big battle ensues. Some bad stuff happens. And then it turns out that the Scarlet Witch is not a regular human in this world.
What?
She gets very upset. She snaps and she says, "No more mutants." And boom, every mutant loses their power. So kind of like the Thanos snap, except you didn't have to collect Infinity Stones or anything. Everyone just wakes up, their powers are gone. And I have encapsulated this moment in Magus of Magnus. So 2 and a white, 3 converted mana cost, 2/2, legendary creature human. Each other creature loses all abilities and has base power and toughness XX, where X is that creature's mana value. And of course, the flavor text is no more mutants. Now, it's a Magus of Humility. I am done with 2023 power creep. Okay, the problem with humility is twofold, right? One, it's kind of hard to get rid of because it's an enchantment. If you're playing a color that can't get rid of enchantment, it's kind of hard. Wanda's just a regular human. You can Doomblade her to get rid of this. But the more important part is that everything is not a wet noodle when humility comes down. So if you have a 6 mana card, it's now a 6/6. It can still rumble. It just lost its abilities. So I think the biggest problem with humility is everything is a 1/1. You can't make any progress. But now, if you played honest, fair Magic and had like a regular mana curve, you could use those creatures to like actually accomplish things. This kills tokens by accident. I didn't want her to kill tokens, but tokens aren't fair Magic, so it's fine. So this is Magus of Humility. I think we need to remove basically Questing Beast. Everything's a Questing Beast in 2023 Magic. So this lets you play with like vanilla creatures like Richard Garfield intended, right? Like a 7 mana creature is typically like a 6/6 or something. Now it's a 7/7 with no abilities, right? So that's Magus of the Magnus. But wait, I did not just design a single card, guys. I designed an entire secret lair for you. So, because this is comics, you have so much art to draw from. You can get an Art Germ variant. You can get a Peach Momoko variant. If you like your people 3D, you can get the Elizabeth Olsen MCU variant. And for you, Krim, I got Waifu Scarlet Witch anime version. Just for you.
Whoa,
say no more.
Anime, hold on, that's
Say
weird,
less.
dude.
If you go to Universes Beyond, you have so much great artwork to pull from, right? This is guaranteed to sell everything, right? And I had to do a lot of research looking at Scarlet Witch art on the internet. And let me tell you, there's a lot of art that we can't show on this podcast. You can reprint this card into oblivion with any kind of art you want. So you can go full kid-friendly. You can go full extract money from all the lonely nerds. You can do anything you want. So, Magus of Magnus. What do you guys think? Is this... Would you play a Magus of Humility?
I like it. I like it, but like, can I just have your face on here on these cards, and then this way it just is no more reading instead of no more mutants?
No more reading.
I love that Richard is such as like, I'm tired of reading all the text on the new cards, so I just don't want to read them.
You jest.
I've
seen all the cards. This is the least amount of text on all of our cards today.
I want this card printed just so I can see the next Sheldon article on this.
Yeah.
Like, why must be.
So
I think this card is like actually sick though. We've been needing a Magus of a Humility. That's an iconic like kind of like card in Magic, right? Like why wouldn't you want this? I think this is pretty cool, and it's only just a 2/2. Like blow it up. Blow it up if you can.
Does it have to be legendary? I think
That's what I was going to
my
say.
main
Why
concern.
is it legendary?
Maguses traditionally have not been legendary. This card in the 99, I think it does something really cool where it's shutting down all these abilities. This card coming out on turn 3 from the command zone again and again is a little bit less exciting to me. Like, so what was the thought process behind being legendary?
Because it's the Scarlet Witch.
The flavor.
There's only one Wanda.
That's true.
Plus, we only make
Wait,
cards for
no, hold
Commander.
on.
But I see your point. They're having... So the first Humility you remove, okay. But then it just comes back at 5 mana, at 7 mana. I can see how this could get tiresome very quickly. But we want fair Magic, right? We just want creatures that do nothing, right?
I'm
I do
100%
like
sold. I'm 100% sold on it if it was not legendary, because like none of the Maguses are legendary for one, so that would be kind of fitting the theme of non-legendary creatures. And then secondly, I do think it would be a little bit annoying just to like kill it and then somebody casts it on for 5 mana and then you have to kill it yet again. But I don't know. I like this. I like this. There's a fixed humility. Like you said, the most annoying thing about humility is everything's a 1/1. So you can't actually progress the board. You can't attack and you can't really block profitably because everything's just going to die. So, and then you're just stuck waiting for that removal. But now, okay, well, you're actually rewarded for playing bigger creature or more expensive creatures at the very least, which is kind of like what we want from Commander, right? Battlecruiser Magic. So the Battlecruiser deck is actually going to get the most reward out of this. So I don't know. I think that's good. I think it's fun.
It also opens up some interesting ways to build around it, too, like affinity threats. Like, you play your Thought Monitor for 7 mana, and it's going to be a 7/7 instead of a 2/2. So the way it's worded with the power and toughness is equal to mana value, I really like that aspect of it. I just wonder about Legendary, and if it should say non-token. I wonder if you should just say non-token creatures or this, or if that would have problems with token copies of stuff.
Your Wormcoil tokens get through. Your flying tokens get through.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be a true humility.
I want to make all tokens like 1 power at least, but then that like doubles the text box. I'm like, I don't think it's worth it. I actually see a lot of problems that Wizards designers like come up with. Because you're like, well, to fix the case I want to fix, it requires me to like triple the text box, and like I don't want to do that. It's already long enough as is. But yeah, ideally tokens would just become 1/1s or something, but I don't want your flying tokens to survive this. They have to lose their abilities too, so we'll just kill them. It's fine.
We might be a more...
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I actually think that... Wait, hold on. Isn't this a flavor fail because it's legendary? Because Wanda just wants to be a normal human, not legendary.
Well, so that's the capsule. First you're like Scarlet. Isn't Scarlet red? Why is Wanda white? Well, first of all, she's not the wielder of chaos magic. She's a regular human here doing a benevolent thing, granting everyone's wishes. You're like, why is she not a mutant or a wizard or sorcerer? Because she's just a regular human in this. Why is she legendary? There's only one. There's not like 10 Wandas. You can't make it non-legendary.
Well, but the thing is, in her eyes, she is just regular Wanda, right? So there could be other Wandas, right? Like when you think of it that way, wouldn't it just be creature human? She's just a regular human.
Can you put a name on a creature human that's not legendary?
But it's Magus of Magnus.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a name.
That's true. That would imply there's other Magus of Magnuses, which I don't know about that.
But also, every single Magus is a wizard, too. I feel like that's kind of part of that title. So...
I wonder, flavor-wise, this being just human is better than it being a wizard. So like,
I mean, it doesn't have to be a Magus in the first place.
That's what I was going to say.
Like,
maybe
just
the name is wrong. And then, because it does... I know when they printed Magus of... the Below, whatever the Bridge from Below one was in Modern Horizons, I hated that card because it didn't actually line up exactly with the original Bridge from Below. So with the Magus name, I think that comes with some baggage where people expect it to be like an exact replica. So I could even see there being pushback of being like, well, humility makes things 1/1. This isn't a real Magus. It should make them 1/1s, which would obviously make the card way more miserable. But I wonder if the Magus name actually...
the alliteration...
The alliteration is good.
MOM, Scarlet Mommy.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Okay. Like, come on.
Multiverse of Madness? Okay, I'm here.
I think we also might need one more category, which is, would Sheldon email Wizards to tell them not to print this card? Yeah. And I think that, several times over, Sheldon is already typing out that email.
I'm also not sure if like a lot of people would
magic,
play
right? This brings back Battlecruiser magic.
It does. That is pretty cool. I actually like this for that exact reason. This is the most fair Magic card I've ever seen in my life, and I love it because it's if you play a 4-mana threat, some things actually get better. Like Oracle of Maldaya is a 4/4.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't legendary, I would be 100% on board with this. If it's legendary, I'm still on board with this, but I could see it being more like a kind of a Turgid style thing where if you have it as a commander, it's kind of socially unacceptable for most circles, but it's there and it's allowed. But I think it's not going to be very popular. Like, I don't see myself actually playing this card ever, personally.
What? I would play the hell out of this card.
I know Krim would play this card, obviously. I know Krim would play this card, obviously. But, like, I don't even play Drannith Magistrate. Like, and that card is absolute gas in Commander. I feel
one sneaky Richard side thing here is this is a super buff to Kithkin. So Kithkins are like 5-mana 2/2s. They're like horrendous, right? But now they're 5-mana 5/5s on par with everyone else. And then you can use like Anthem effects to pump them beyond everyone else's. So you can't use actual lords because the lords get turned off, but you can use like artifacts or enchantments to buff your creatures. So this is actually a very strong tribal card and really helps Kithkin out.
Really helps, and birds.
Actually,
I
no.
first lose flying. I think this is a debuff to Breeze.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah, but
maybe
you're
this
playing
is a
Fledgling
metagame
Osprey,
full
which
of
doesn't
birds.
even have flying, so it's
Yeah,
a
but
buff for
it shuts
Fledgling
down
Osprey.
Toski, though. No Toski.
Yeah,
no,
everyone's
no birds.
favorite bird.
No Toski. No. Oh,
But in a
Toski
Thas
gets
will work, though.
reinforce?
Toski
No
gets
reinforce?
Toski becomes a 4/4.
But loses
So it's better,
ability.
right?
But it loses
Yeah.
the card draw. Yeah.
No, but it's strictly more. It's like actually more powerful.
I don't know about that. I don't know about
Like,
that.
it literally
Alright.
has more powerful.
All
That's
right.
true.
Then we have to go to the
So
next card.
that's Magus of Magnus. Next
Yeah.
up, Seth. What do you have for us?
All right, so I decided if I get to design some cards, I'm going to try to solve some of Commander's problems. So my first card is trying to solve maybe the biggest problem in Commander, which is, we've talked about this many times before, green ramp is just so much stronger than everything else. And as a result, green is the most heavily played color. Green ramp is really strong because it's kind of taboo to blow up your opponent's land. So green gets ramp like Nature's Lore and Cultivate and Explosive Vegetation and a ton of other options that add lands to the battlefield when everyone else, every other color, has to use mana rocks, which means a Farewell or a Vandal Blast, and everything falls apart super quickly. And one thing we know about Commander players is they really don't like having their game plan disrupted. Like, cards that make your deck not do its thing, kind of like Magus of the Magus, are very unpopular with most players. But if you play cards that benefit your own deck in some way, people are kind of fine with that. So as I went about trying to solve this problem of green ramp, I didn't want to make like an opposition agent that's just like keeping people from playing their deck. And Wizards has made a couple of attempts at fixing this problem. Maybe most notably was Confounding Conundrum, the blue enchantment that punishes people for playing an extra land. You gotta bounce a land back to your hand, but none of them actually ended up being all that good or all that fun. So what I came up with is a card called Deforestation Axe. So Richard, if you want to pop that up for everyone to see. So Deforestation Axe, we'll talk about it in a minute, but let's just first read this card. It's a 2-mana equipment. It costs 2 to equip, and it has 2 abilities. Ability number 1 is just a static ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control from anywhere but that player's hand, you get to draw a card and make a treasure token. And then it has an ability that helps a equipped creature. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you get to search that player's library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped under target player's control, and then the land's owner shuffles. So whoever you stole the land from has to shuffle the deck. So this is kind of a card in 2 parts almost. Think of it a little bit like Shadow Sphere. So you have the first ability is just a static ability. It doesn't have to be equipped to a creature or anything to work. So it's a 2-mana artifact that essentially says, if your opponent casts a Rampant Growth, you get to draw a card and make a treasure token, because they're having a land come into play from their library, not from their hand, or a Explosive Vegetation, any of those green ramp spells, essentially giving you a Lotus Petal, a temporary bit of mana, and a card draw. So that's going to punish the players who are ramping aggressively with their green deck. Also, a little extra upside is it hits on fetch lands, so maybe helps budget players fight against people with fetch land mana bases. And then the second ability, this is probably my favorite part of the card. Once you equip this and you hit your opponent, you essentially are a Sword of the Animist or a Sword of Hearth and Home, where you're getting to ramp every turn, but it has a ton of flexibility here. You're stealing the card from your opponent's deck, and then you get to choose who gets it, so you can give a land to a Mana Screwed Crim and try to get some political favors out of it. You also get to control what benefit you get, because if you put the land into play under someone else's control, you're going to trigger the static ability and you get to draw a card and get a treasure token. So essentially when you hit, you either get to draw a card and make a treasure, or you get to get a land. And I think this flexibility is really the big selling point of this card. I wanted to make a card that would work in any deck. So if you're playing a control deck and you don't have any creatures, much like Shadow Sphere, you can just play this for its first ability and punish people who ramp, but it's going to be better if you can equip it. And if you can equip it, you can play it in theft decks where it's going to be on theme with stealing your opponent's cards. You can use it politically in like a group hug deck, which is pretty cool. Decide who's getting lands. So all around, essentially, I think this is my attempt to fix what is probably Commander's biggest issue, and I think this would probably be a pretty chase card that would probably make Hasbro a lot of money too. So that is Deforestation Axe. What do y'all think?
This is great. It's like you and Richard just like I don't know. Do y'all just like you're making cards that I
Crime,
like?
yeah.
Why are you doing
Deforestation?
that?
Yeah.
Are you selling to me or are you selling to everyone at home? Because if you're selling to me, I'm buying. Like I want this card. Like also I'm like 99% sure. I thought this artwork was just literally like Seth at home. Like this is what I do when you're
basically.
like this is not an artwork from somewhere. This is just a photo of Seth's lower half
that's
when
my
he's
legs,
not making content.
Yeah.
This actually just looks
in
like
the wilderness
what I
of New
imagine
York.
What you do. So, but this card is sick. Right, I love this card, and it's a cheap enough equipment that comes down early enough to like combat with all the nonsense of the ramping, literally like that, and like it's just exactly what I would want, right? And it does do what you want it to do. It doesn't necessarily disrupt the player casting the Kodama's Reach's game plan, but it also just helps reward you whenever they do anything, right? So it's like a punish, but not really a punish. It's more of just like they're helping you stay up to speed. And then the second one, I mean, I like that it just lets you look for a basic land, so I can't just go grab your Phyrexian tower or something like that, you know, in Urborg and Cabal, like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So pretty solid. Don't know how I feel about it not adding any power at all. Like, Seth, come on, just give me like +1/+0.
I ran out of
It be like a
Zero.
better
ran out
sort
of
of the
room.
Animus at that point.
Yeah, and I also didn't want a Strick upgrade over some cards that already exist, so...
I like this card a lot. I think it's very clever, and I especially love the equipped combat trigger, because I do love the political implication of it, where you can help an opponent, but you're also helping yourself at the same time. And that's really cool to me. My main fear of this is it seems too strong. For like 2 mana colorless, that effect, it comes on early, which is great because, you know, you want to catch those rampant growths and stuff. And there's vibes like Archivist of Ogma, for example, is very similar. Or the other two one, the Deep Gnome Terramancer is also a 2-drop that is also going to ramp you with this similar effect off a similar trigger. The fact that it draws you a card and creates a treasure token both for 2 mana without even the equip, and then the equip cost is just 2, so it's very much like, it feels like a better Sword of the Animist already there as well. It feels like it's just too much, personally, for the cost. I feel like either the cost has to be tweaked, or it shouldn't draw a card and create a treasure token. I feel like maybe just draw a card and not have a treasure, and then I would give it a thumbs up. Right now, it feels like you just would put it in every... Because it triggers off fetch lands. Like, everybody's going to be... It's going to be triggering so much. It's going to be triggering off so much, and it goes into any deck. So it would be basically... I would expect it to be played as much as an Arcane Signet, but it would also be like $50. So
too much of a... Too powerful, too much of a staple. So
too powerful and goes in every deck.
So if it removed, like, the treasure, do you think that's a fair power level, or would that still be too strong?
I would say it would be very strong, and I would probably run it in most decks, but I wouldn't be just like, I have to put this in every deck.
What if you remove the draw and just still made the treasure?
I think it would be worse, but
that would be weaker, right? Out of those two,
I think so.
Yeah.
It's way too strong. Like, it's auto include. Even with the nerf that Tomer just suggested, it would still be too strong. You'd put it in literally every deck because it triggers off fetch lands. I would actually fix it by making that static an activated ability, like maybe 1 or 2 mana, so that you don't get that for free and you actually need to activate it. But just like 2 mana, it's like a 2 mana Archivist or something, right? With the upside of just being a random Sword of the Animist. It's slightly different because I think Animist, you don't need a hit, right? Like, as long as you attack, you start ramping. Yeah. So this one you actually need to hit, and then
I think
also
it's +1/+1, but
no power toughness.
When the person dies, you lose all your lands, so that's a downside. And then you're also not fixing your own mana. Like, if you're color screwed or something, like chances are you can hit the person with the color, but maybe you're playing against Richard and Seth, who run 0 basics, and this is not useful.
Seth did build this, so it's Seth's proof. I've only got.
So
MDFC,
I don't have to play basics. Yeah, that was part of the plan.
If you remove the Animus part and just made it 2 mana, that static ability, that would still be auto included in like every deck. Like, it's that strong. I think you got to put some mana on it to activate it. I think.
But I think we need something
Like Shadow
strong.
Spear is one to activate. Like maybe one would fix it. Or...
I don't think this disincentivizes other people from playing these cards. It just makes it that you need to run it as well. I think that's the problem. It's not like it doesn't. I don't want to punish people for casting Rampant Growth. Let me just say that flat out. I don't. I like it's too ingrained in the game.
You're benefiting. You're
just benefiting from it a lot. So I just imagine everybody's just going to continue running Rampant Growths, and they're just going to run the Axe as well. So, but I personally think it would be fine if you just took off the treasure token. Personally, but
can you take your lands back? Do any like Homeward Path and the other thing? Do any?
There's
of them
Brand. There's a couple cards.
Homeward Path does,
but it's not very
creatures.
playable.
It's only creatures.
Yeah. It's very
I think
unlikely.
this card has to be as powerful as it is, though, because
Green Ramp is powerful.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, with how much ramping there is, I think this does have to help you keep up, though, right? Like in resources to like stay up to speed with the rest of the green players, right?
But the green player just runs this too, right? Like everybody just runs this.
So Rampant Growth or like really like Farseek and stuff are mandatory in green decks. But when you make this, it's like mandatory in every deck now, right? Like,
well, is it like
an
auto include?
If you're not against green, though, is it very good? Like, I feel like...
Well, it's a Sword of the Animus. You should definitely be playing Sword. Like, you ramp yourself, right? Like, just ignore the passive. So if you ignore the passive, you would still play this, right? Because we have we have 2 swords, the new sword, Hearth and Home, and Sword of the Animus, right? If you want to ramp outside of green and white, you need to play this, right? And then you get the passive as well. So...
It's definitely the worst.
This is auto-included in every deck, right?
It's definitely the worst Sword of the Animist without the static ability. Like, for a bunch of reasons. Like, it doesn't fix your colors, it doesn't boost power, there's no Esther upside, so I think it's worse without the static, but yeah, maybe it's a bit too much.
If you lost the static, or the triggered ability, or the static ability, I would have to switch from like basic land to any lands, and then it would be like very powerful still.
It'd be insanely broken.
Without it would just be a bad Sword of Animus.
I take your Field of the Dead.
But without it, then it's just a bad Sword of Animus. Because you're not even guaranteed a basic lane that you want, right? Like if there's a blue player and you hit the blue player and you're like Selesnya, then you don't really want their island. You much prefer a forest or plains.
But also your lands go away when that person dies.
Yes,
that's a big issue,
it's much,
right? Like
it's
you have
worse.
to keep. They're like your blood bag. You got to keep them alive now to make sure you keep your lands, right? So
I think you need some version of the static, but probably either just draw a card or just create a treasure token. I think creating a treasure token is going to be the safer of options.
That would definitely be safe. Would it be powerful enough? Would just make a treasure token? Like, would people still play it?
I mean, I run a lot of Archivist of Ogma and Terramancer, and those are better cards, but they're also white cards. So if it's colorless, I don't know.
Yeah,
I would say just run to draw, and then if it's too oppressive, just ban it.
Someone asked Sheldon. We should tell WOTC.
This does not hurt anyone's game
it.
plan. It doesn't hurt anyone's game plan. It just speeds your deck up, so it's fine.
But it's adding another Soul Ring to the format. That's
but Sheldon loves Soul Ring, so
that's true.
I don't know about the flavor. I don't know about in 2023 we should be pushing deforestation. Like maybe we change the flavor a little bit.
Soon.
Like, we're not deforesting anything. We're planting renewable trees somewhere or something. Like,
all right, PP.
I mean, you're not cutting. Flavor wise, you're not actually cutting down any trees. So it's not like you're shutting the green.
You're running into someone else's forest and taking their trees
and chopping
down. Going for
I think that's kind of what you're doing.
Let's attack the combat trigger. Yeah.
I mean, it's not
that
saying...
part is that part is yes. Okay, I'm thinking of the passive. Like the passive isn't like a Deforestation Axe, right? Like the passive also is just like I don't know. You're just getting money.
That's the treasure you get from the tree that you cut down. You get resources and gold.
Okay.
We're gonna need to rebrand this one to be more in line with Wizards'
Forestation
global
Axe.
climate.
It's probably closer to a Forestation Axe because you're giving somebody a land.
That's true. You're giving people forests. Yeah, I just
want the from the Dr. Seuss. The one
the
slur
Lorax or whatever.
The Lorax? Yeah. But it's like the one slur or something was the one who was deforesting, so I can imagine he's like wielding the axe or something.
That'll be part of my secret lair drop. We'll do a Lorax version of this,
All right, Krim. what do you have for us?
All right. So when I made this card, I didn't know we were trying to sell the card. So like, like two wizards. But hey, so we're talking about green running away with games, ramping too hard, all that stuff. Tutoring is just so annoying, isn't it? Like, it's a singleton format. So why not keep it a singleton format? Richard, show him that wall of text real quick.
Oh my god.
Tuition fees, baby. Yeah, I'll read it to you. 2 blue-black enchantment flash. If an opponent would search their library, instead they skip that search or pay 6 life, 12 life, or have their life total become 1. If they paid 6 life, that player searches the top 4 cards of their library, you draw a card. If they paid 12 life, they search the top 8 cards of their library, you draw 2 cards. If they had their life total become 1, they search their library, you draw 2 cards. And the artwork is, of course, Anya Forger, because it's an adorable anime and I love it. And her facial expressions are exactly how I'm going to feel, or the caster's going to feel when someone searches. This is the face I make when I opposition agent anybody. And this is the perfect facial expression when you play this card against anybody. If you want to make a Spy Family like Secret Lair, I'm here for it. But yeah, this card is really just here to stop a big problem that I find in Commander, and is that tutoring all the time. And I want to punish you for doing it. I'm sorry. Tomer can be nice. I don't want to punish you. I want to punish you. like I am going to punish you with this card.
So I actually think this card's fine. Because like the way I read this card is it's a 4 mana stifle or counter the next search you do. Because I'm not gonna pay any amount of life and give you that, unless I'm gonna go for the win, right? So
right.
This just reads to me. Opponents can't search your libraries, and it's at instant speed.
Could.
It's Mind Lock Orb, essentially. It's Mind Lock Orb with Flash.
No, it's opponents. Mind Lock Orb is all players. This is and it's a flash, so it's going to get somebody one time. But and if you really want to, I don't see why you would pay 6 or I guess you could if you're trying to search for a basic or something. You have a lot of basics.
I didn't want to fully hate out fetch lands. Tomer players, who love basics, right?
Nah.
Maybe they have the fetch land.
I just see this as you can't search your library. That's basically what I see it as, essentially, with a lot more text.
This is funny because I know Krim added so much text to try to make this good, but I think this card is unplayable. It's
yes,
it's 4 mana. You don't search anymore. Draw a card. Essentially,
I think it's
right?
a
and
worse
if they
opposition
search,
agent.
you're probably dead.
Yeah,
right.
Opposition agent's at 3, so it's easier to get somebody with it. You get the card immediately.
Yeah.
They don't get an option to say no. You just get their card. So they don't search your library, and you get to search your library and get something for free, and then they just can't search your libraries until you get rid of the opposition agent. This is harder to get rid of.
Krim was too nice. You should just roll a die.
Yeah.
Right, and if it's 1 to 2, they lose 6 life and search the top 4. If it's 2 to 4, they lose 12 life, search the whatever, and then you basically
Richard,
force them into
them.
one of these and Obnixilis them.
I mean, can you really make a Dimir 12 damage burn spell? That feels weird.
Well, actually, it is.
Well, they did it to themselves.
Because they did it to themselves.
I mean, with Richards,
So
with Richards
maybe
mandatory,
you don't give it flash.
Mandatory design.
You don't give it flash, and you just put it down, and then it's Obnixilis. If you want to search,
But then no one ever searches, and you just mind lock door. But if you can't flash it in, no one's gonna
search here. You're just gonna get them once.
You're only same with opposition agent. You only get them once, unless you have a forced search thing, which I don't like. Anyway,
well, unless people just don't read the card and search.
But you can force them to search, right? Wishclaw, Talisman, or whatever. There's a couple of things
that's true. Field of Ruin or whatever. Yeah,
Field of Ruin. Yeah.
Would this have been busted at 3? Because I was there's no way this could be 3 mana.
I think it's. I just think it's a worse opposition agent.
I think you can make it 2 mana.
At 3 mana.
I mean,
really?
I want an opposition agent effect at almost all parts of the curve.
No, but it's also an enchantment. It's very difficult for certain decks to deal with. If you're in a black deck, you have
true.
feed the swarm, but you can't even tutor up your... The problem with Opposition Agent, I find, is that the fact that it shuts off potential answers to the creature, like, oh, you're going to tutor up your removal spell? You can't. So you have to sit there until you can find it. So that's the same problem with tutoring. I would put this at 3. I think this is at 3, and it's fine. And I would ignore most of the text, honestly. Like,
I also wonder if it should be symmetrical. Like, if we really hate tutoring, shouldn't we also not be able to tutor? Or aren't we being a little hypocritical over there in Demirland if we get to tutor?
Do you see the art on that? Do you see the art on that? Yeah, that's what I want you to know. The art says it all right there. Like, yes, yes. I mean, this was meant to kind of like pretty much like you said, just say, don't search. If you do, that's great. I'm going to benefit from it. And you can go search for the exact card you want, but your life total is 1. And it's just enough so that you aren't dead, so you can maybe go do something with it. I don't know. It's just here to...
What about like Repay in Kind, or like... What about Repay in Kind, or some of those things? Is there any way the ability to set yourself to 1 is a problem that would make this card like a broken combo piece?
It could.
But it's only opponents.
It's only an opponent.
Yeah,
right.
I guess that's...
So,
yeah.
if your opponent's playing Repay in Kind,
I guess that's true.
That's hilarious.
There is... Mindlock Orb is just 4 mana. No one can search, I think.
No one can
players
search.
Can't search their library.
There's already a way better one from a decade ago, though. Stranglehold is also a 4-mana red enchantment. Opponents can't search your library, so you can still search, but your opponents can't. And it also shuts off extra turn spells as like an extra bonus. And that card also you don't really see that much either. So I think,
Flash is a huge upside, because like Opposition Agent, you're pretty much guaranteed to get someone once.
You get somebody once.
I feel you need to get the card they were going to take. Like, drawing a card isn't good enough. Like, you need to be able to search their library and take the card.
I still want to run this either.
Then it's literally just Opposition Agent. I don't know if I would want more of these cards to exist, but I do think if they are going to exist, it could be 3 mana, especially being 2 colors.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
you need your card, Seth. Pay the 6 life. I mean,
I was worried.
Would you ever pay 6? Like,
no, because
you still get even mind censored, right?
Well,
like,
you probably still whiff.
Yeah, you can still whiff.
You just pay 1 or nothing, right? Like
1 or nothing. Yeah, I don't think there's. And I wonder, like, I wonder if there's a way to make those options happen more often. Because I think that's the most interesting part of the card.
Yeah, you got to actually make it happen.
I mean, you could just. What if you like let them tutor, but if they tutor, you draw 2 cards?
Isn't that
fine?
So whenever your opponent searches their library, you draw 2 cards.
That's not enough. That's not enough.
That's not enough?
Wait, just like in general, just hey, whenever you search, like
you can search your library. I'm going to draw 2 cards each time.
Oh, every time.
Every time an opponent searches their librry, you draw 2 cards.
Consecrated Sphinx for shuffling
for tutors.
But I also want to hurt them, so they need to lose health.
That's why you use those cards to deploy threats on the board.
They lose 3 life, and they lose 3 life, and you draw. Yeah, they lose 2 life, and you draw 2 cards or something like that.
I mean, I essentially thought of it as like greatness at any cost, right? So if you want to win, go get the card you want, but you're at 1, right? So. Like, I took that text and I put it to card, right? Or I could. And, of course, you know, when you want to tutor things and the price of knowledge, or essentially is that, not the card itself, and it's perfect because this could be, like, with Anya, it could be a Strixhaven thing, you know, a Strixhaven 2 card. So it could go in there and it's tuition fees, which is perfect for tutoring. So, I don't know. I was worried that, like, it being 3 mana was too broken.
I mean, it's annoying, but it's annoying at 4 mana too. So the annoyingness is going to be there regardless of the cost.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
I mean, a 3 mana Opposition Agent exists already. Ashiok exists already, so we already have these effects.
But Ashiok just straight up stops them. This is see. I think the thing here is there are tons of ways to just straight up stop things, but this is like. Yo, it's like this is flavorful. This is like flashy and it's like annoying and it's like very. Just, I don't know, it's not as boring as you can't search.
Yeah, I say it's printable at 3 then, for sure. Like, I think 4 is too safe.
Okay, cool.
I wonder if the first two modes are even necessary. Like, I wonder if it's like you can't search or go to one and search. Because
I think
the only
it's just
thing I
to
wonder
bait
is,
people.
I just wonder if anyone will ever do that. Would you guys ever pay 6 or 12 to this? I feel like I would never, ever choose those options. Like 0%
You
of
would
the
have
time.
to know the top of your library. Like, you
Maybe,
have a
okay,
Sylvan
so if you have a
library or
sense of
something.
divining top, or scroll rack, I guess that makes sense. So there are scenarios. I was just wondering if no one would ever choose it, is it necessary to be there? But I guess there are times when it could be worth it. Very narrow circumstances, but it is a cool
also
design.
designed in a way where, because like I like, you know how I told you I like lethal vapors and like mini games within the game. This kind of like gives you that option. Like if you want, you can try to
you can risk it and hope for the best.
You can risk it, see if you hit it, and I think it's funny if you try. So like
that is,
why not?
That is a cool, the design is cool for sure.
Clearly designed for Commander, by the way.
Honestly, I really like the idea of it. I really like the idea of giving your opponents the option of doing something, like also incentivizing for them. Like you can do this, you're allowed, but it adds in a lot of risk to it. So I like that. I like where the idea of this card is, and I would actually want to see more variants of this style of, I'm giving my opponents option. They can do what they want, but there's an inherent risk, or there's like this big cost associated to it, which feels very black. And I like that a lot.
All right,
I want to see more.
So that is tuition fees from Krim. Tomer, what do you have for us?
All right. I want to do a couple of things. I want to make a lot of people happy with this first card. This is my safe card. And first and foremost, I want to make Wizards of the Coast a lot of money. So Daddy Hasbro, if you're listening right now, tune in. So, what are the most popular...
Not sponsored, by the way.
No, I wish I was. I wish I had a holiday card. Didn't get one of those, but maybe next Christmas. Maybe next Christmas, because of this idea, once they print it, I'll get my freaking first holiday card. But anyway, what are the most popular tribes in Commander? What are the most popular card types? Dragons, obviously. Demons? Yeah, of course. People love demons. Zombies? People love zombies. But you know what people love almost more than everything else? Angels. People love angels. Every single time you hear a new player joining the game and you show them what card types there are, the most iconic creatures in the game, it's angels that are always on the top. Sarah Angel, one of the most iconic cards alongside the Shivan Dragon and everything. So why is it in 2023 that there are only angel commanders out there, all mono white? Angels are throughout all the colors of Magic, and yet... most recently, we got Giada, which is a mono-white 2-drop in Commander. And she's very good for leading angels. She ramps them out, and angels are a very expensive tribe. But she's just mono-white, and you see angels in all other colors. So why don't we have a commander that can run all the angels, which is what people want to see. And the other thing people want to see is they want to see big, iconic lore creatures show up as a legendary card. Everybody always asks, like, where's the next Felden card? Where's the next thing? If you show up in a quote on some card, they want to see that legendary creature. So I'm going to do all those things. I'm going to give you a 5-color angel, and it's going to be a crowd pleaser. It's going to look amazing to new players, and it's going to look more powerful than it actually is, because it's going to kind of be a little bit clunky, and that's kind of the trick here. You want to tantalize people with stuff that looks incredibly powerful, but then plays a little bit worse than it really is, and you want to give the Forthos people those sweet things. So, Richard, bring up the card. We got Asha Guardian Reborn. So, Asha Guardian Reborn, Asha is a major lore character in the Alara plane. She was the protector of the entire plane of Alara pre-sundering. She gave her life to to imprison a demon dragon called Malfagor, who was put in an area that was going to later be known as Grixis when the sundering happened and Alara split into various shards. So Malfagor was over there. Even to this day, she was a leader of the angels who protected in all the realms of Alara, or the one realm of Alara before it was sundered. And she was basically the head honcho of all the angels of the plane. Later on, the prayer of Asha became a big recitation for all the followers of Asha in like Bant, which is where all the angels ended up congregating and everything. So boom, we have a major lore character coming back after the sundering, after all the maelstrom happens and all the planes of Alara come back together, all this font of energy comes and it rebirths the guardian of the plane, Asha, Guardian Reborn. So both those characters, boom, you got it. Then it's a 5-color angel, so you can put all your angels in there. You don't have to think about it. You just put in your angels. It's a crowd pleaser. Everybody loves angels. What does it do? It's a 5-color, 5/5 flying lifelink Ward 2 angel. And at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 more life this turn, you may cast an angel spell from your hand or graveyard without paying its mana cost. This is a callback to another 5-color angel from Alara, which is Maelstrom Archangel. It's a 5-mana, 5/5 flying angel that says when it ever deals combat damage, you get to cast any spell from your hand for free. This is going to be a 2023 version of that, and it's going to be focused on angels. You can't cast any spell, but you can cast any angel spell, and you have to gain 4 more life, so you don't actually necessarily have to hit with Asha. If you do hit with Asha, you've already gained 5 life, so you can activate that ability, and you can get it from the graveyard too, because it's restricted to angels only. The other thing I liked about it is the 4 life is actually a choice to kind of do a callback to other cards that do similar things. Angelic Accord is a 4-mana enchantment that says whenever you gain life at your end step, you can make a 4/4 angel. And there's also Bishop of Wings. Whenever an angel enters the battlefield, you gain exactly 4 life. So there's synergies over here, other ways to trigger it. Now, the cool thing is, basically, you can trigger on your turn pretty easily if you just hit with a lifelink angel. Angels are all about lifelink. But there is the option of maybe triggering it on other opponents' turns. That's actually really hard to do. You're going to have like 3-card combinations to gain 4 or more life on each opponent's turn. But it is possible. And the possibilities are what makes it very interesting. Stuff like Angelic Chorus and flashing in angels will allow it to happen. So there you go. Asha Guardian Reborn, 5-color legendary angel for all your angel decks. Crowd pleaser extraordinaire, gonna give Hasbro all the money. If you want to hit that triple profit margins, this is the way you do it, Hasbro. This is the way you do it. All right, what do you think?
I really like this card. I think it's actually fairly balanced. I would remove lifelink though. I don't like the fact that Asha must trigger herself. But what? Then, like this, it's like too good. Like it's. You don't need to do anything, right? You just play Asha, you attack someone, you get free angels, right? Like at least if you remove the lifelink, you need to find other ways to gain life, and I think that makes, it makes the ability to play free angels every turn like not as oppressive. You need a life gain engine, right? But here, you just hit someone and then you just like dump it in Avacyn or something for like there's no setup, right? It just kind of does everything. So I would remove lifelink, and then I think the card is perfect.
But doesn't Maelstrom Archangel already does that?
I like the lifelink.
If anything, I'd remove the ward.
Yeah, I added Ward late, and I was thinking like because it doesn't have haste or anything, it doesn't get that immediate value. You have to wait. You have to do something. You have to do something else. Yeah, so I was looking at like Mirim and stuff. I'm like,
you do get immediate value, right? If you gain 4 life, this turn, then you cast Asha, then you just get a free angel, right? So
I could see just taking that off. I think the lifelink is kind of necessary though, or else it's just like a bad Maelstrom Archangel.
It's very angelic feeling too. We have other angels that have similar abilities that have lifelink,
so that she couldn't trigger. That she needed like a little help to trigger.
I think she'd be a 4/4.
It should be a 4. Yeah. That was my first take. Is like 4/4. Mostly for flavor purposes. It really rubs me the wrong way that it hits for 5 and gains you 5, but you only need 4. I wish it was symmetrical. It would just feel nicer if it was symmetrical. But I think 4 life is the right number because all those cards you talked about with like gaining 4 life being kind of an iconic angel thing. What do you think about the each end step? That was the other thing that jumped out at me. Is like, is that busted? Like, is being able to drop 4, Baneslayer, Avacyn, like, into play every turn cycle? It doesn't seem that hard to set up. Like, you play a Kenrith and gain 5 life.
Flash angels, right?
Well, you play a Kenrith. There's so many ways to gain life in Magic. Like, it doesn't seem that hard to gain 4 life.
So you need a life gain engine, but then you need to be able to cast. So it has to be a Flash angel.
No. You can play. It gets around timing restrictions.
It gets around. You can drop in Avacyn during your opponent's turn.
It gets around timing restrictions. Oh,
yeah.
Well, maybe it's too easy.
I don't
pop
think
off.
it's that easy to set it up. Like, yeah, you could have like a Kenrith on the battlefield, but that's another 5-mana creature that you need to start activating on each opponent's turn.
I think it's still fine.
And
I don't know. I think it is kind of easy to get going. Like, what? Really? There's tons of things that just can like passively gain you life, right? I mean, then you could also load up your deck with a bunch of Soul Wardens and then just like make a token at instant speed. Like there's lots of ways.
Wait, Soul Warden is only one life though. You have to gain 4.
But I'm saying if you stack Soul Wardens, it's not hard. Like there's almost enough in these between green and white to where you can gain a lot of life pretty easily.
I tried.
Like if you assemble your 5-drop and a life gain engine, then sure, win the game.
It has to be a specific one though. Like there are cards that are very similar. Like Valkyrie Harbinger and Angelic Accord are 2 cards that do the same thing. Both of them have the exact same trigger ability. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 more life this turn, you create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. And I've tried to make them good in Commander, but it's really hard to get more.
Because you put in a 4/4 vanilla flyer with vigilance, or maybe a 3/3, right? But like what you're really doing with this deck is like, here's Archangel Avacyn, and then here is Aurelia, and like here is like a lot of crap that will kill you. Right? So you need to be a little more careful with it. But I think it's still fine. My question is this a sneaky buff to tribal? Like, are you doing
that's what Tomer's really going for.
I wouldn't run it because all my changelings are like 2-drops and stuff. They're not actually very good with that. But yeah, I would probably drop the ward and make it a 4/4, and then if I could see like maybe making it not at each end step, but I feel like it's worth. I feel like that's kind of the exciting part of the card.
But 4/4 is like.
It's no longer like a Lyra Dawnbringer, right? Or something.
Like the good legendary angels are starting at 5/5, right? So I think 5/5 is appropriate. So
I think the ward can come off for sure. This is a little bit more interactive.
Wouldn't it feel bad to die to like a Baneslayer or a Lyra or something? Like, shouldn't you be able to tangle with them?
I mean, that's true. You could drop ward for like maybe. First strike?
Menace.
First strike, yeah.
Angels are pretty good at protecting themselves, too. I think that would be my other concern is, like, the Avacyns, and there's a bunch of other angels that are, like, a Deathless Angel and so forth that just, like, oh, everything is indestructible or whatnot. So it seems like it would be pretty easy to protect this and just snowball it, but maybe that's fine. Yeah, I'm shocked there's not a 5-color angel. Like, we don't have one, right? Like, if you want to go 5-color angels...
Morphon.
Well,
no.
That doesn't count.
I was also thinking about making it like Bant and then just not having a 5-color angel because that's what people. That's the only thing is I asked my friends who really want an angel commander. I'm like, would it be okay if it was just like a 3-color angel commander and then you don't have like this is the go-to and nothing else can compare and you just eat up the design space? But everybody kept telling me they want 5-color. Like they don't want a 3-color one, they want a 5-color one. So I was like, okay. Make it 5-color.
I'm sure. What the heck's a blue angel? Like, come on, get out of here.
There's blue angels.
Like, we should just keep
there's like, red ones. There's like Aurelia and stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing I would worry about, and I think 5-color is right, but is it the Erdreichen of Angels? Is this like the angel commander to end all angel commanders? So there's no sense in ever printing another one?
Well, it's also focused on life gain. So I feel like there are situations where if you want to go like angel tokens, where there's like a lot of creatures that make 4/4 angel tokens, for example. There's a design space for that. But I wanted to kind of tap into Maelstrom Archangel, and I wanted to make it in a very angelic way. Like, I don't want to just cast any spell from my hand. I want it to be an angel spell. And how do you get the angel spell onto the battlefield? Well, you need to gain life, because that is the triggered ability of, like, Angelic Accord, Valkyrie, Harbinger, and stuff like that. Like, that's what angels do, is when you gain X amount of life, then you get a reward, an angelic reward. So that's what I was going for.
Card's super cool.
We need to keep moving. So we were like, oh, we need Oscar music to get people moving. And we're like, why do we ever need that? We're like so behind on our podcast. not for Cholmer specifically, but we got to up the pace here. So I will go next. This card is for all you boomers out there. So before Apple Pay, before Samsung Pay, Google Pay, whatever, before credit cards interact, we used to pay for things with little pieces of paper and pieces of metal, and we call that cash money, and the lowest denomination is a penny. Is 0.01, 1 cent. Now, if you live in an antiquated country like the United States of America, we still have this, okay? And it's not worth anything. Like, you have a penny, you can't buy anything with a penny, but you got to carry it around. And if something is like 96 cents and you don't have 96 cents, you pay with a full dollar, you get 4 cents back. You carry like this giant thing of pennies. And people solve this by adding a little tray at the convenience store, where if you need a single penny, you can take it from there. And if for some reason you got back 4 pennies, you can just dump your coins there and not carry them in your pockets, right? And this was called the penny tray. And I don't know if they still have these, but that was a great invention of humanity. You didn't have to carry around this this purse bag thing that I guess Europeans and Canadians carry around still, because all your money's coins. You know, you can keep your pockets light by just offloading to this penny tray. And in the great Phyrexian invasion of Earth, it turns out that Phyrexians took this technology back to Phyrexia, and I give you the Phyrexian penny tray. Okay, it's a 2-mana legendary artifact.
Oh my god, you actually photoshopped this and everything.
I photoshopped it, okay? It's a penny tray, and it says all will be 1 cent on it, okay? With the Phyrexian symbol. Now, as any player loses unspent mana, put that many penny counters on Phyrexian penny tray. At the beginning of each player's end step, put a penny counter on Phyrexian penny tray for each untapped permanent with an activated mana ability that player controls. And then the activated abilities: pay 2 life, remove a penny counter from Phyrexian penny tray, add 1 colorless mana. Any player may activate this ability once each turn. So essentially, if you have extra mana in your mana
Take
pool,
a penny, leave a penny.
you add counters to this. If you try to be smart and keep your lands untapped, your mana dorks, your mana rocks untapped, doesn't matter. We're taking the pennies from you anyway. We stick them on here, and then anyone can pay 2 life. If you're ever short a single mana, does someone just mana tithe you? Get it from the penny tray. Is there a heuristic study trigger? Get it from the penny tray. Are you off by 1 mana for any reason? The penny tray is here. So it punishes people that ramp excessively. You know, green players that are like, ramp. I have 800 mana, but I have no cards in hand, and I just pass the turn with 10 unspent mana. It all goes to the penny tray, and the whole table can now use that mana. So this is my solution to green ramp. If you ramp, you better use it. And then this is my solution to Seth never paying for heuristic study. Just take from the penny tray.
Yeah, but he's not going to.
And if you don't want to get got by a mana
That
tithe,
doesn't change.
Yeah, he's going to be like, I could use that 1 mana to draw another card, maybe.
I might need it. I might need it for
I might draw into a 5-drop instead of a 4-drop now.
Later. So, the flavor win for sure. This might be one of top-down design of a penny tray. Nailed it. Playability, though, I don't know if I'm seeing it. Unless I'm misunderstanding it, why would I play this over Mind Stone or any 2-mana mana rock? Is this just a 2-mana mana rock that's really flavorful, or is there something more to it than that?
Looks like a group hug card, right?
It's a group hug card. Is it good? I don't know.
Okay. In group hug, I play it.
It might be good in Bellbeer or something, stuff that wants your people to lose life, and then you can fuel that for stuff, because it's everybody's opting in to lose life, and there you won't draw hate for it. So if you have anything that is enabled off your opponent's losing life, then this could be good. Maybe
It's
Okay.
a pinnacle,
like a
You
blood
probably
chief
died before this,
essentially.
but if you have a mana sink, you can use this ability every turn and go to 0 life.
Add one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I think that my only thing would be I love the flavor. However, I feel like you could remove the first 2 paragraphs and the card would still function the exact same way.
Wait, how do we get penny
it has
counters?
to get counters, right?
How do you get counters onto
but
this?
beginning of each player's end step, put a penny counter on it for each untapped permanent unactivated ability control. So I think it's gonna get the counters very quickly, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, because
so
you
you're
can tap
saying
out.
just-
So I didn't want them.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
want
could tap
people
out.
to mess with the system, right? So like you could just float all your mana and like make it disappear so you don't add, right? Or you could just not use any of your mana, like don't tap anything.
No, you can't tap out because then you lose unspent mana. You put that many penny counters.
Can't have people
right,
cheat
but
the
then
penny
you wouldn't
Yeah.
use you would just keep your lands untapped and wouldn't use them. And then you would avoid putting penny counters without the second clause.
At the beginning of each player's end step, put a penny counter for each untapped permanent with an activate. No, if you have lands, you either have to spend them for mana or that's it. They become pennies, right?
Exactly.
You can't avoid it.
That's why that's why you need the 2 clauses. If you remove one of them, you can either tap out and drain your mana pool, or you can just keep all of your permanents untapped. I mean, this ensures that the pennies get put in.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that guy that only takes from the penny trade, right? You gotta put some back, right?
What? I wonder if it could be worded in a different way to meet Tomer's concerns. Like whenever you player casts a spell or something, like they're buying something, and then you get the penny. I wonder if there would be another way of doing
Whenever
it.
a player miscounts and pays more mana than they need.
No, I don't want more triggers though, because then it just slows down the game. Like I like the function, but I don't want to gum up the game too much.
But when like counting all of your untapped permanents with mana abilities every turn also like have that effect?
I mean, if it's gonna be lands, right?
So it's like
and
lands,
mana rocks, mana dorks.
Is really what I want to hit, right?
Yeah. You could simplify it to just be lands.
It's super.
I could, but then those dirty Arcade Signet players and Soul Ring players are getting away with it, and like the Elf Ball deck is just really getting away with it.
Yeah.
As someone who gets Vandal Blasted every single game, I don't get away with it. I promise.
Elf decks are definitely the ones that are taking from the penny tray only.
For me, super.
This is the way Magic cards should be designed. I think there is no like forced archetype for this. There's no like immediate combo. I don't know. I'll just let it into the wild. Let Magic players figure out what to do with it. It's weird.
Happens.
I think it does something interesting.
I like it.
Is this an unset card? Would this be unset?
Okay. If it weren't a penny tray,
you could flavor it in a way that's more like fantasy-ish, but like
I don't understand why Phyrexians need to pay for stuff.
They gotta pay too, yeah.
I don't think it's busted or anything. I think it's a fun card. It will show up in group hug decks, and it might be showing up in decks that care about life loss.
I think it should be 2 Phyrexian pips.
So 4?
Forget one mana.
You can pay. Oh yeah.
Oh, you can pay with Phyrexian? Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that.
This would be fine with Phyrexian mana, I think. Since it's helping everyone, I think it would be fine.
Right.
I like it. Super flavorful.
But outside of flavor, like I don't know if I would play the card, but it would be pretty funny.
It'll be power crept by Apple Pay next season.
Okay, Apple Pay the card. Okay,
we don't need this, and entire countries will remove this. I think Canada doesn't have pennies anymore. I think like Australia doesn't have pennies. Like a bunch of countries have just removed pennies.
We don't have pennies, but we don't round up yet, though. So that's a little bit annoying. Like,
you don't round up? I thought you round like.
No,
interesting. I don't know how. This
I'm pretty sure.
What do you do
what do you
then?
mean you don't round up?
Where does the
I
pennies end up?
I don't remember the last time I paid with cash.
Loonies?
Honestly, I've just used a card like a normal person.
I'm pretty sure you round up. If it's like 98 cents, it becomes $1.
Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
No?
I'd be fine with
It's
that.
like 96 cents, it becomes 95 cents.
That's a loony, right?
Yeah.
Just one loony.
Yeah.
Round it up a loony.
But like, yeah.
All right, Seth, what do you have for us?
All right, so I tried to solve a really big problem with my first card. Now I'm going to try to solve a much smaller problem, but a problem that has annoyed me for pretty much as long as I've been playing Commander, which is the lack of 4-color commanders. Wizards print so many commanders, we don't get 4-color commanders. There's only a handful of them, and most of those are partner pairs. More specifically, it really bothers me that there's this iconic 4-color cycle of creatures that really is perfect to be people's commanders, but you can't play it as your commander because they were printed before Commander was a thing and Wizards didn't make them legendary. And those are the Nephilim. The Nephilim cycle from Ravnica, one of the only 4-color cycles in all of Magic. none of them are very good, but I think they're some of the cards that people have requested most to have be their commander. People have wanted Wizards to errata them, to be legends, specifically so they could play them as their commander. So I decided I was going to fix this problem. And the way I did this is with a card that you can pop up, Richard, called Bodhi, Yore Cult Priest. So Bodhi is a 3-mana 0/4 colorless legendary human druid. It has an ability that says if Bodhi is your commander, you can have another commander that's a non-legendary Nephilim that's exactly 4 colors. We'll wrap around to that in a minute. And then it also has my favorite ability, a Panharmonicon ability. If an ability of a multi-color permanent you control would trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So if you know the Nephilim, they're all 4-color creatures, and they all have some sort of triggered ability. One of them, if you deal combat damage, you draw that many cards. One of them, you cast a spell, it gets counters, or return a creature from your graveyard tapped and attacking when it attacks. So they all have some sort of triggered ability that this will actually double up. So the idea of this card, what I wanted it to be, and this didn't really work because of rules baggage, but my initial thought was partner with non-legendary Nephilim. That's what I wanted that first ability to be. When I tried to do that, Neatuk, who was helping with editing and stuff, said there was some rules baggage that partner with means you're like tutoring Nephilim out of your library, and there's some extra stuff, so like wording it in that nice clean way didn't work. Also, the last line on there is a little clunky. You may have a commander that's a non-legendary Nephilim that's exactly 4 colors. This one went back and forth on. Neatuk was also very concerned about changelings. If this didn't say exactly 4 colors, technically you could play a random changeling as your commander to partner with Bodhi. So the exactly 4 color clause is to try to get rid of the changelings. I don't know if that's actually necessary.
Justice for changelings.
But that's the idea of this card. Essentially, you can play Bodhi, and if you do play Bodhi, you can also have one of the 5 Nephilim moves to your commander. Flavor-wise, I also kind of went a little deep with the flavor. The Yore Cult is a group on Ravnica, and Tomer is probably going to tell me how I get this wrong because I'm not a big flavor guy, but the Yore Cult actually kind of like awoke the Nephilim. They're this underground group, and they awoke the Nephilim, so that kind of works. And Bodhi means awakening is the actual like meaning of that name. So this is like the priest that awoke the Nephilim, and now it's a commander with them. So what do you think of this attempt to make Nephilim actually playable as your commander?
Are Nephilims that good?
They're not legendary, right?
They're not legendary, but they're not that good.
Like,
yeah.
I would disagree that they're not good. I think they're actually some of them are very good. Like Inktrider Nephilim, for those who don't know, it's everything but black, 3/3. Whenever a player plays an instant or sorcery spell, if this is the only target, copy the target for each other creature or spell that could target. Each copy targets a different one of those creatures. That's basically Zada, except now you have access to 4 colors for Zada. So you cast like a 1-mana spell that targets a creature and draws you a card. You just like draw the cards.
And so draw twice as many cards with Bodhi, yeah.
Yes.
So I've seen people play Inktrider before with like Rule 0 Commander, and that card is just like, it's Zada, but just 10 times better because you have access to 3 more colors of magic. And like same thing with like Your Tiller Nephilim. When it attacks, return target creature card from your graveyard to play tapped and attacking. Like imagine like the shenanigans of Kalia, except there's no creature restriction. It doesn't have to be from your hand, so you just like entomb something and immediately attack, and it's tapped and attack. It's tapped and attacking.
So you're saying this is too good?
4 mana, 4 color 2/2. Like it's a 4 mana, 4 color 2/2. Like, and you gotta have something in your graveyard. And
I'm just saying,
graveyard hate.
Yeah, I'm just saying these cards aren't bad. Okay. They're not actually bad creatures. So like I don't know if Bodhi needs to buff them any further. But I mean, really? I'm happy. People want to play Nephilim. I think Inktrider is definitely the strongest of the bunch, and probably would be annoying to play against multiple times for sure, just because it's like Zada on crack. But like, I don't even play Zada because Zada's too strong. So I think that would self-regulate itself. But
funny enough, I was talking to Seth earlier today, and I was like, 2023 design is so annoying because everything is just Panharmonicon. So 2022 design was like, everything is Toski, right? You just like slap a tribal card, give it a Toski ability. And now Wizards has decided to just slap Panharmonicon, everything. Just double something, right? Just anything happens, just double it, right? It'll be good.
It was like jotting down notes.
Yes, that was my inspiration.
Comes up with Bodhi, just like literally doubles the Nephilim.
I mean, Panharmonicons are fun. Like the reason why they keep doing it is people like them. So like I'm totally down with a commander that does that. Multicolored permanent triggers, it triggers another time. I'm fine with that. It's just like I don't think the Nephilim actually need that help. Like they'd surprise you.
I think part of the idea of having an additional ability on there is also to make, like, Nephilim are a niche market. Like, some people really want them, and some people would build decks around them given the chance. But I think that to make the card more profitable for Wizards, they probably want a card that you could stick in the 99 of a multicolor deck, which I think the Panharmonicon ability, like, yes, the reason it exists is so you can play Nephilim as your commander, but I would also have some decks where I jam this in the 99 to double up my multicolor abilities.
My General Affairs Rockerick would auto-include this.
Wait, why is Bodhi a 0-4? This is a weird power toughness. Is there any reason behind the 0-4?
There is no real toughness. It's not about attacking. Maybe it should be like a 1-3. Needed to survive bolt.
Like attack.
You got to have a survived lightning bolt just in case. But no real reason for the power and toughness.
Yeah, I mean, this card is just a generically. I think okay. If I just ignore the first line of text, I would just play this because it seems cool, right? A multicolored permanent just triggers again. Like it can go in like Tomer had mentioned is a Rockerick deck or whatever. Rockerick, I don't remember his name, but yeah, like that. Any multicolored deck would love to have this just as a ETB Panharmonicon kind of thing, right? Or any kind of ability, yada yada yada. I would just play it as that, and it's 3 generic mana, and it sits on the. It's even cheaper than Panharmonicon. It's cheaper than Elishnorn. So,
it's more restrictive. I think like I would just ignore the first part, and I like the card for the rest. Like I think a 3 mana Panharmonicon that's restricted to only multicolor is like correct, right? Like I don't know. That seems right.
I would ignore the second clause. I think the part you can play Nephilim as your official commander now is pretty cool, and I wonder how we can apply that to other cards without making it broken.
I honestly don't
there's some
like
cards
both.
you don't want in the command zone, but it'd be cool if you could play Brothers Yamazaki or something.
Yeah,
whatever, right? Like stuff like that, right? There's cards that people want to play, or I want to play Tarmogoyf. That's not broken, right? But you don't want to let people get access to the broken cards in the command zone. So I kind of like this design where you just restrict it to Nephilim. You hose Tomer, he can't tribal this foiled again, right? So I like that. I like the first clause. It's elegant.
And I think
I just don't like both clauses together. Those Nephilim are scary, man.
I think maybe we just have very different opinions on Nephilim, because when I was reading them, I was like, wow, I think all of these are like pretty bad commanders. But maybe the Zada thing, you might have sold me on that one actually being pretty strong. So I would be open to tweaking that ability if it was necessary, because I think this is like Richard said, if we could crack this, a way to make non-legendary creatures that people really want from the past to be commanders, there are so many applications. If we can figure out like the right wording to make that ability work, Partner With would be so perfect if it wasn't already a thing that had issues with it. But that would be like, it's very intuitive. Like Partner With non-legendary Nephilim would be super intuitive, and people would like immediately grasp what it was doing, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's a cool design space.
What do you have? What do you have for us?
Okay, so this is something that I thought a while back, because there's recently been a spoiler that there's a green-red sword, but we've been always like waiting for the sword cycle to finish itself, right? And the one I've been always excited to see would be the blue-black one. So Richard, pull that card up for me, please. It's Sword of Nightmare and Nausea. Okay, so first off, it's as you would expect, a 3-mana artifact. Equipped creature has +2/+2 and protection from blue and black. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, put 2 -1/-1 counters on up to 1 target creature, and exile the top 2 cards of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may play those cards. If you cast spell this way, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. This feels very much so like a Dimir sword. And the name Nightmare, like fraying off the top of your library, the nausea, the sickness, the -1/-1 counters. So I think flavorfully it's all there. The artwork is, of course, my boy Yuta Okatsu from Jujutsu Kaisen 0, and when you like, there's a scene in that anime when his sword lights, like it has this aura, this cursed aura around it, and it's this purplish black aura, and the thing behind him is his curse that follows him around, which is actually his like childhood lover that died. So it's really depressing, but like also at the same time, dude, it's so sick. And like it works perfectly when you think about it from the flavor standpoint of the artwork and what the card does. And I don't know. I mean, I always felt like this is just what a blue-black sword would do.
I think this card's perfect. Honestly, like it does what I would want X and Y sword to do. It doesn't overlap with the other black effects in the cycle, which is important. Like it doesn't overlap with the blue, it doesn't overlap with the black. It does two things that are good in the pairing. And I even like the name sword of Nightmare and Nausea. Like Nightmare I associate with like Ashiok, which is the blue black planeswalker. Like I assume like thoughts and nightmares are like a very Demir. So no notes, perfect.
Yeah, I actually like this one a lot too, Grim. I think you kind of nailed it. It'll be interesting because I expect we actually get the blue-black sword next set, probably. It'll be cool to see how it compares, but the abilities seem fine, like not overpowered, but it seems like it'd be fun. I don't know. Would you play this outside of Theft Decks, or do you see this mostly as like forest steal your opponent's stuff, or do you think you would play this in just a generic equipment deck in Commander?
I mean, I like that it has a little. It's essentially what is a shock, but the shock that can slowly build up and take down bigger threats.
And it works with like proliferate and stuff, which is cool. Right. Some synergies
they can't aim to the face, so it's balanced. Maybe the exile thing is too red. I don't know. Maybe you can just exile one card face.
To the red sword.
I think it's supposed to be like a Spectre, because it's your opponent. So I think it's supposed to be like a Night Veil Spectre or something, kind of.
What if it only took one card, but you don't have the until end of turn clause? Like you exile one card face down, and you can play it at any time. If you want to go
wild, one card, but you cast it for free. Because we've seen some ninjas and stuff do similar effects. Yeah. So I bet you could do that, and that would be a jaw dropper. That might be too good, but
so that's what I had before. If it connects, you get to play the next spell free. But I thought that was kind of busted. Like. Right, that's kind of busted.
I like keeping the card.
I think it's
Gonti
balanced
or something,
the way it is right now.
Right?
Because Gonti doesn't have.
You can surprise them and keep it forever, right?
Yes, that's what I like. I think if it's end of turn, then it feels too much of like a red effect. But if you get to keep the card, but you only got one, so you
one
don't get
card
two.
And you keep it, so it's basically a Gonti. It's basically a
Gonti.
Yeah. Well, you exile face down, so your opponent doesn't know their Cauldron piece is missing, right? Like I think that is like very key to this, right? Because when you exile face up, they're like, okay, right?
What if you
never playing against
got
Graham.
to look at the top two? And then you keep one of them permanently exiled. So you kind of choose, so it's not like just some random garbage off the top. Unless you get unlucky and it's like 2 lands, you know what I mean? Like then it's okay, unlucky. But whatever. Because I like the idea of giving yourself options.
I think
with
that's
the two.
still. I don't think that'd be too powerful. I think if you can choose one.
Dope. I mean, like I've been wanting the blue-black sword for a while, and this just feels pretty much how I'd imagine a blue-black sword being.
Yeah, the flavor is really
good.
good.
I thought Krim would make like a counterbalance or something. You get a token, like you get something. You get like a counterbalance token that like is one use or something like that.
Yeah, force a will with a mana drain ability attached somehow. Yeah,
I think that's perfect. I think it complements the closest analog is the Fire and Ice. But the 2 damage is more versatile on Fire and Ice than the -1/-1. Although this one lets you kill bigger things, as you said. And then the other ability, like if you got one card off your opponent, I think that's balanced from the just draw a card immediately. And I think that's good. And then you get that selection of seeing 2 cards. I think that's fair. I don't know. I like it a lot.
You can. What if you split the counters too? So you can put 2 counters on one target creature. What if it's any number of targets?
I'm down.
I don't think that'd be too broken.
Up to one. Oh, yeah, I mean, on any number of targets. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, like up to any, because then that would be the nausea part. So yeah, you know what?
Then it'd be better with proliferate.
2 mana dorks.
Yeah. You could pick off some mana dorks, and yeah, I like that as well. That would be pretty rad, actually.
Wow.
Yay! Right. Cool. I designed a I've tried, like, the thing here is, like, most of my cards, I've been worried it's just like if I went too hard on some of them, like too wild, so I really dialed them all back.
Like I think this is
you nailed it.
Wizards could actually print this in the next set, and like no one would. No,
Yeah,
just steal
I
this
wouldn't.
card.
Yeah.
Like it seems like a very normal card that Wizards would print. Except the Jujutsu Kaisen art.
They had the art, but
put an Asha on
No,
there.
but that's a secret layer bonus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
then
a-
the secret layer with Jujutsu Kaisen. It's going to be a whole thing. I'm hoping, you know.
All right, last card, Tomer.
All
What do
right.
you have for us?
So the Asha one was the crowd pleaser, play it safe, and this one is the exact opposite. This is risky, and you're probably going to rustle a lot of jimmies, and probably will have an article about it. And I'm here for this is the one where no publicity is bad publicity. This is that style of tactic with this card. So we're in Phyrexia. All will be one. All your favorite planeswalkers are being completed. So I thought, you know, it'd be great. What if we actually could complete planeswalkers in the game of Commander? What if we could complete opposing players? So Richard, bring it up. Bring up the card. It is marked for completion. This is a 3 mana.
Life, Tomer.
I wasn't as creative as you. I wasn't pulling out the Photoshop, all right? There were some precons that need to be upgraded, okay? So I was focusing on that. This is marked for completion. Ignore the similarities here. 2 and a black for an enchantment aura. Enchant player. Enchanted player can't lose the game for having 10 or more poison counters. At the beginning of Enchanted player's upkeep, if they are your opponent, they get a poison counter. Then, if they have 10 or more poison counters, that player may join your team. If they don't join your team, you sacrifice marked for completion. So basically, the idea is
the reminder text, by the way.
The common rules configured. Yeah, because the other was like, do you want it to be like battle bond teams, or do you want them to stay in their same like spot in the table? How will that all work? I'm like, I'm just figuring it out later. But anyway, the idea of this card is it doesn't really do too much up front. It just each upkeep it will put a poison counter. But if you do poison somebody out, then on their next upkeep, if they still have this aura on them, they can choose. Are they going to die? Are they going to die to the poison? They sacrifice it and they are no longer immune to poison. They just die. Or they can join your team. They are completed. They have 10 or more poison counters on them. They are Phyrexianized and they work on your side of the battlefield. Of course, they can die in any given time. If somebody disenchants this aura, they die to poison. It's over for them. But you're giving them a shot at staying around, sticking with you on the winning team. And I thought this is like obviously brand new ground. It has a lot of negative potential and possibly positive potential. But also, I'm going for the flavor, baby. You're completing planeswalkers with this. And we're planeswalkers.
The flavor's so good, but what
The flavor's
I don't
good.
know what join your team means in Prime.
Why
I'm trying
would I
to
ever join your team?
envision
Why
what
would
this
I just
actually.
not kill
Well, then you're
myself?
not dead, and maybe you draw leeches and get your poison counters off. And
There's
come
no
back
way
or
to
something.
cure yourself from completion.
Why wouldn't
right?
they just backstab you after all of
No,
that?
join your team means you win the game if either of you win the game.
So you would still have a chance to win. But
Yes.
what would this look like? Like, do you tell them what cards to play? Do you see their hand?
No.
Like-
They're an ally. Like, you know, in Battle Bond where it says like you like you can put a counter on any creature on your team. Like, you are now a teammates, whatever that definition of teammates would be in Battle Bond or whatever. So you could do it Battle Bond style where you share the same turn, where like on my turn both of you work together and you can you attack on the same turn, you defend together and all that stuff like that. Or you could just make it more simple where it's just like you continue playing the game on your seat and everything, but we now share the same goal. If either of us win the game, we both win the game.
This is a rules nightmare.
I know.
Hence the reminder text.
I don't know if it's printable because of that.
You know what's
I
funny,
don't know that I
Tomer?
ever want to join your team. Like I feel,
You'd rather just
I feel like
given the
I feel
choice,
like you should
just
team up
Wow, dude.
and kill everyone, and then you like battle it. It's like Gladiator or something. You battle at the end, right? Like maybe
No,
you're disadvantaged.
there's no end. There's no battling at the end. If your opponents are dead, then both of you win the game.
But did you really win? Like if you actually play the game, you're like I didn't actually win. Like
What do you mean?
We ganged up and beat everyone up, and like there's 2 of us. Like, I don't know
you have
if I feel that
you have
same
to be
victorious.
completed. You have to be completed first. You need to have 10 counters on you.
I feel
mean,
if there was
poison
a way
is a
to
lot.
uncomplete yourself and like steal victory, it would be a lot more interesting. Like,
If you could remove the counters, then you can disenchant it at any time.
yeah, but aside from actual leeches, like you can't actually do this, right?
You see,
I don't
funny.
know.
What's funny about this one, Tomer, is I was thinking about a card similar to some kind of like completion act, but mine would be just I think this could be like without being a rules nightmare. It could be something just like enchant, like it's an enchantment for you, and if you would die, reset your health total to like or would lose the game, reset your health total to 1, 0 out commander damage, and like just set your health total to 10, and you can spend. You can pay for all your spells as if they were Phyrexian mana.
Ooh.
And then it would be that way. It's
Like an emblem?
Yeah, well, the enchantment essentially makes it so that you're reborn as a Phyrexian, and you can pay for all your spells as Phyrexian mana.
So you would
reset-
race to
Keurig
kill
now.
yourself, basically.
Yeah, and then
Kind of.
but then you would reset your health total to 10. So then
Yes.
you would just essentially die if you go to her. You essentially get to do maybe one more spell or something like that for funsies. Because this seems like a rules nightmare. This is hard to keep track
The
of.
problem with this card is you want to be completed, right? Like essentially, if you're completed, you get to 2v1 or team up and take on the table. So it's like you're not trying to avoid poison. You're not seeing this as a negative in any way, right?
Well,
you're like, please complete me, right? So then we'll team up and we can take the victory, right?
You
Well,
complete me.
It's not that simple because
No?
if you get you're a simple disenchant away from dying. As soon as the aura
I
is
guess that's
gone,
true.
you die
Yeah,
to
yeah.
poison.
So you're
like
disenchanted away from
you're
dying.
hanging by a thread at that point. As soon as somebody gets rid of the aura, you're gone.
So would you die too? The person who controlled the aura? Because you're on a
No.
team now, and if you win together,
Yeah.
you win together?
Oh wait, yeah. Do you lose together? No.
I
this is
didn't
not
think that
teamwork.
through. I was just thinking like you're on a team. Like if one of you wins, you both win. I would say no. You would just like if one of your teammates dies, you can still go. Like you
This
don't
is-
share a life total or anything.
This is one of those cards where I love the flavor, I love what it's trying to do, but I don't know if the rules could make it work. Like I don't know. I don't know if they could actually. I'm not good at the rules, so I don't know. I'd have to ask a rules expert. But I'm very curious if there is a way that it could work under the rules.
I would make the rules. I am the part of.
Phyrexian
I am
way.
the designer now. I will make the rules work for me.
This card is not for my 3 IQ. I can't handle this. I mean, I do think that flavor wise, it's great.
Yeah,
I
it
love that you
captures the
literally just
completion.
use Phyrexian Unlife on top of that. I
Yeah,
love that.
I wasn't playing safe with this one. I was just like, it's going to be a nightmare. Figure it out.
What if you complete everybody?
Then you all win.
What if you
you all win, it's a
copy the
draw.
aura?
Then you all win.
Is it a draw or
Wait.
did everyone win?
Wouldn't that be the biggest flavor win
Aren't you
for
the only
Phyrexian? You
winner?
make all be one.
Yeah.
Shouldn't
yeah.
you be the winner only because you're the one that controls the enchantment? I don't know. It's like
No man,
I don't know.
They're your team now. So your win is their win, and their win is your win.
I also
So
wonder.
it's beautiful.
I wonder if there could be a way to do this with oil counters too, since that also kind of fits the flavor. It would probably be a very different card, but now that we've seen more of Phyrexia, the oil counter thing kind of could also somehow play into it flavorfully. I'm not sure how, but
Yeah.
I was going for poison just because then, like, if they don't join you or if it gets removed, then they're dead.
done. Yeah.
It also has some value outside of this. Like, if you don't complete somebody with this, it does literally nothing. But at the very least, on their upkeep, they get one poison counter, which means you have like you can at least go for corrupted or something.
Get
I
corrupted
feel
or
like
proliferate.
you could achieve this without the rules nightmare by just having like a 0 mana ability on this to remove this, like destroy this permanent, so that you just tell them politically you have to do what I want, otherwise I will just kill this,
I'm gonna
right?
blow it
and,
up.
then and then you can get this like teammate that you control without having to like rewrite the entire rule book.
But then why would they cooperate with you?
Because they get
I
to
guess
play
that's true.
more.
They don't get the victory. They get
They
second
get to play
place.
more.
Yeah, but this one you
yo,
get to play
I-
more.
Yeah, I guess
You
that's
could
true.
target
That's
me
true.
all
You
day
literally
long
you can
with
win the
that.
game. You can
That's true.
still win the game, buddy. You just have to be on my team.
That's
and if you
true,
say
that's
no,
true.
well, that's too bad. Now I have to sacrifice as soon as you die to poison.
Okay, so those are our cards. Those are our entries into the great designer search. Hasbro, hire us, please. We will fix magic for you. So, viewers, listeners, subscribers, we will leave a link to the show notes, and in the show notes, you can vote. There will be a poll for each of the 4 categories. The 8 cards will be there. You vote who the winner is for each category. If you need some clarification, too bad. Just make it up. We don't know. If the rules don't quite work out, just make it up. It's fine.
Figure it out.
You decide how the cards work. This is how they're printed. Rule 0, anything you need in. And then the winner will get lots of fake internet points, and we'll see who designed the best cards. And maybe Hasbro will actually take our cards.
What does the best mean, though? The best is subjective. Like, oh man, that's so. Whatever, figure it out.
just give out your fake internet points, and we'll figure it out. Okay. So until next time, everyone. See ya.
See ya.